Hello there ladies and gentlemen, how are you doing? It's Alexander Hilly123 here and it's time for a new video. And as you can see from the title, today I'm talking about the band Porcupine Tree and I'm going to be ranking their albums from worst to best. Now this is inspired by the Anathema video, exactly the same type that I did back in November 2020, just 4 or 5 months ago. That video's got just over 200 views and 6 thumbs up and 0 thumbs down, so I thought, you know what, I'm going to do exactly the same with one of my other favourite bands today, Porcupine Tree. Now if you don't know, Porcupine Tree, progressive rock band, started in 1987. Mr. Steven Wilson, the lead guitarist and vocalist of the band, and initially it was a one-man band because he had different people coming in and out of the studio to help him with the albums until 1996 when Chris Maitland on drums, Colin Edwin on bass, and Richard Barberia and synths and electronics, stuff like that. And then Gavin Harrison in 2001 replaced Chris Maitland. Now the band have made 10 albums. Early stuff inspired by Pink Floyd, Floydian-esque guitars, nice landscapes, and dreamy and ethereal, and mid-era and more poppy, easier to get into but definitely not selling out. Still great music, great melodies, hooks, but still very much progressive rock band. And then in the latter era, more of a progressive metal style, darker tone, darker lyrics, just a heavier sound. So I've already done this video, ladies and gentlemen, and then I realised that the audio was not going with the video. Now I've got a Logitech C920 webcam. I've had it for about 5 years, and these kind of things happen. It's like, oh, you've got out-of-date drivers, and I've installed the new drivers and now everything looks totally different. And there's nothing quite like recording an hour-long video and then realising that everything you did you're going to have to do again. I'm going to make this video shorter and more concise, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't help that I'm rambling on now, but these kind of technological problems just annoy me, to say the least, because now everything looks different and I've got to get used to a new layout, and also I can tell that it's chugging the laptop's memory a lot more as well. You know, I did pay 90 quid for this laptop, the webcam, so I would like Logitech to keep me updated on the new stuff and me not have to search it out myself. Anyway, there we go. Don't know why I'm telling you guys this. I'm just annoyed because this is my second time in making this video, basically. And yeah, so Porcupine Tree, 10 albums. I made sure to listen to every single one of these albums before beginning because I wanted to do this video justice, and I wanted to potentially get the band any new fans and people who, for whatever reason, have never heard of Porcupine Tree. Like I said, the progressive rock, but there's quite a few different styles within the discography from the beginning to the end. I got into the band back in 2008 when I kept seeing a lot of people on my friends list on, and my neighbours list on Last FM. I remember Last FM when it was good back in the day. Listening to this band, I was like, what a strange name. And I got into them, downloaded a few songs off LimeWire, if you remember that, Open Car and a few others. I was hooked right in, and then immediately downloaded shitloads of the songs. I'll admit it, illegally. But in the years that followed, I purchased different kinds of merchandise, from t-shirts to posters to vinyls to CDs, paid the band back. And Steven Wilson, he's got a lot of other side projects, Blackfield, No Man, The Bass Communion, all sorts of shit, pop rock, drone, ambient. Very talented man, and he's made some of my favourite music of all time. So, ladies and gentlemen, great discography. People are going to have a differing opinion. That's absolutely fine. There's no need to get upset now, because some of these opinions are going to be quite controversial. Like I said, I wanted to listen to every single album before I did this video. But the first two that we're going to talk about, the 10th and 9th album on my list, I know less than the others. Thus, that's why they're really the worst two in my opinion. And they are, well, the first one we're talking about is On the Sunday of Life, released in 1992. Recorded between 88 and 92, so Wikipedia tells me. And Wikipedia wouldn't lie to you, ladies and gentlemen. Of course it wouldn't. I was born in 1989. This was released 1992 and started before I was even born. Now this is a very ambitious album from a very young Steven Wilson. It would have been 21 years of age when this was released, but he would have been hang on, 6, 7, 7, 7, 8. Oh, he would have been 21 when he started on it, early 20s when it was released. He was young. 18 tracks, 76 minutes in length, there's a lot of tracks here that I quite simply can't get into. Looking at the track listing, it's evident that there's a lot of smaller pieces of music. There could have been less tracks here that were long instead of shorter tracks, but massive track listing here, 18 tracks. There's some great tracks, but also a lot of throwaways as well. I hate to criticise Porcupine Tree, I hate to criticise this band because they made some amazing music, but this is the worst. But it is the start of the discography, but you can see where the talents of Wilson lied, and you could see what was to come perhaps. Jupiter Island is a really fun and weird song, very psychedelic, this album, and peculiar lyricism, especially in my opinion. My two favourite tracks, by the way guys, if you're not wanting to watch this whole long video, drop down in the box. I'm going to link my favourite song from each album and also timestamp when I start talking about each particular album. But for this one, best song, Radioactive Toy. Maybe a bit more serious and darker in tone than the rest of the album, but I really enjoy it. Brilliant lyrics as well, and then the absolutely fantastic 9 Cats as well. But overall, this is an inconsistent, very long album, which would show where Wilson was going to head next. That he was a very talented young musician, but ultimately it's very, very inconsistent, and it is my least favourite Porcupine Tree album. Next up, ladies and gentlemen, is one that's going to be very controversial to some, but I don't know. I think it's because there's so many longer tracks here. Perhaps I need to give this one a few more listens. I will hold my hands up and say that, apart from On the Sunday of Life, I do know this album the least in the discography. It is the third album, The Sky Moves Sideways, released in January 1995, running in at 65 minutes in length. The Wikipedia page says that this is very similar to Wish You Were Here by Pink Floyd, just purely because there's 6 tracks on the album, and it opens and closes with 2 incredibly long pieces of music. There's also one called Moon Loop, which is incredibly long, and there's, within those 3 tracks, great moments, but then moments where I find myself kind of losing my interest also. My 2 favourites, the one I'm putting in the drop down box, Dislocated Day, and then The Moon Touches Your Shoulder. Dislocated Day, it's got this kind of Arabic feel to it within its riff, I would say, and then at the end it's got Wilson on the phone to someone, and I think what he's saying is how the song's going to start, and that will be the ending of the song, him talking and recording this conversation on the phone. Really interesting idea, really cool. It's a good album, but ultimately I think it's one of my least favourites. Porcupine Tree. Wilson was still young at this time. Brilliant art style as well, with the front cover, the phone box, and some kind of, well, let's have a look. I can't see a high-res picture there, unfortunately. It's good, but ultimately, in my opinion, it's not one of the best, and I know that people are going to be salty about this one because it is a fan favourite, I'd say. But you are all progressive rock fans watching this, and I know you better than to give a thumbs down. If you love a particular track from that album, just tell me to give one of them a listen, and maybe I will hear something in it that I haven't heard before. But ladies and gentlemen, running in now, number 8, it is The Incident, the last album from the band in 2009, running at 76 minutes in length. This is a concept album about an incident. Wilson tells us more. There was a sign saying police incident, and everyone was slowing down to see what happened. Afterwards, it struck me that incident is a very detached word for something so destructive and traumatic for the people involved. Then I had the sensation that the spirit of someone that had died in the accident entered into my car and was sitting next to me. The irony of such a cold expression for such seismic events appealed to me, and I began to pick out other incidents reported in the media and news. And then he goes on to say what they were. And it's kind of that thing that happens when there is an accident. Everyone's looking in at what has happened, and people would probably rather not do that because this particular one's a car crash, and it's just going to be pretty gnarly if you do want to look, if you want to do so. But yeah, this album, I remember being hyped for it because I got into the band in 2008, like I said before. But straight from the off, I could tell that something was just not quite right with this album. I do think there are some amazing pieces of music here, but are intertwined with ones that I'm really not keen on at all. Real balance between some songs that are between 5 and 6 minutes in length, and then a lot of shorter songs, but there's also a magnum opus here, a long song called Time Flies, very Pink Floyd inspired, I'm sure Wilson would admit. And also, though, from the heavier moments, a lot of Meshuggah and Gojira influence. That's when Gojira and Meshuggah were pumping out albums every 2 or 3 years. and you really do feel that with some of the heavier tracks. But there's some beautiful songs here as well, beautiful gorgeous ballads. Typically Kneel and Disconnect is unbelievable, and the one I put in the drop down menu, the title, not title track, but the one that ends the album, I Drive the Hearse, beautiful track, man. What gorgeous piece of music. And then there's disc 2, which is separate from the actual concept, the incident. You've got Flicker, Bonnie the Cat, Black Dahlia, and Remember Me Lover. A real mixed bag. I prefer out of those 4, Flicker and Bonnie the Cat. Black Dahlia, Remember Me Lover, I'm not as keen on. Ultimately, I think this was Wilson's first misstep with Porcupine Tree since the early days, and quite simply, you could see and understand why he wanted to call it quits after this and start his own solo material. You know, his early solo materials, King Crimson inspired instead of Pink Floyd, and now he's kind of obsessed with Prince and he's going down a more poppy vibe, and more power to him. But for me, his peak after Porcupine Tree was The Raven That Refused to Sing. Obviously I'm going off on a tangent here, but that was my last album that I loved of his solo material. But the first 3 solo albums, Insurgents and Grace for Drowning, also amazing. It's just my opinion, it's my what I prefer. But yeah, The Incident, it's a good album still, but it isn't one of the stronger ones in my opinion. Anyway, next up, ladies and gentlemen, we're going back to 1996 with Signify. September 1996, 62 minutes in length. And this sees Chris Maitland, Chris Maitland and Colin Edwin come into the band full time, and they make a more concise album, shorter tracks, a little bit easier to listen to on first listen perhaps, but no chance they're selling out. This is still an absolutely fantastic progressive rock album, and it features some of my all-time favourites from the band, like Sleeping or Dreaming, Waiting, Every Home Is Wired, Light Mass Prayers, which is an ambient track, pure ambient, absolutely amazing piece of music. And then the one in the drop down box, Dark Matter, ladies and gentlemen. This is one of the best songs ever made in my opinion, lyrically and musically, unbelievable. One of Wilson's best ever solos, an absolutely amazing outro. And the art cover, the photo on the front of this album, you guys are big fans of the band, you'll have seen it. What on earth is all that about? But yeah, Signify, it's a good album. It starts with this 1.5 minute instrumental, and then there's another instrumental in Signify, which is a heavy metal instrumental out of nowhere. Quite weird. Somehow it works. It's not really a concept album at all, this one, in my opinion. It doesn't have to be, though. I really like the lyrics of Sleeping or Dreaming. Every Home Is Wired, which seems to be about how we're going to move into the age that we're in now, with all houses being hooked up to the internet and this age of technology and all that shit. And yeah, some good lyricism here. It's not one of the best Porcupine Tree albums, but at the same time, after this album, it could have been any order, because this discography is so damn good. And ladies and gentlemen, moving on to number 6 now, album number 6. It's one that I really enjoyed listening back to. There's a few tracks on here that I totally forgot even existed, because I've been listening to these guys now since 2008, but I don't religiously listen to them like I used to. You know, 31 years old now, and as I get older, there's certain pieces of music that I've not listened to in a long time, and I listen to them, and it's a religious experience. It's absolutely so joyous. And there's a particular track on Up the Downstairs which is just like that, running at 48 minutes, ladies and gentlemen. This was released in 1993. It's a second album, and this is so damn good. This album, Synesthesia, Up the Downstairs itself, whoa, not beautiful anymore, Small Fish, Burning Sky, Fade Away, some of my favourites here. And the Wikipedia page tells us this, and you really do hear it. It's a mixture of electronic music with old school progressive rock. It says here, according to Wilson, Up the Downstairs channeled the Orb and the Future Sound of London, who were both making great electronic music in the early mid-90s, probably Orbital as well, and shit like that. I really love that mix of the two styles and genres, and you really hear it on Up the Downstairs. Up the Downstairs, the song itself, is the one where I totally forgot that that song existed. It's very atmospheric, it's got this great groove to it, it's a bit dancey. Absolutely amazing. Synesthesia, this is one hell of a track, because lyrically it's very dark. It speaks of a soldier dying in the war, and and speaking to family back home that he's not going to make it and all this kind of stuff. And yet, if you took those lyrics out, people would be dancing to this one. It's very groovy, very fun, very enjoyable, but ultimately very dark as well. That juxtaposition, ladies and gentlemen. But I absolutely love it, and I think it's one of Porcupine Tree's best songs. Small Fish has always reminded me of Crowded House, Don't Dream It's Over, which was released a few years before this album came out. I don't know if anyone else feels that. That Woodface, I think it's called, by Crowded House. That's a pretty good album. That solo really reminds me of Don't Dream It's Over. It's one of the best songs ever made, in my opinion. And then Fade Away, which is such a gorgeous track, beautiful Floridian guitar. There's a live version of Fade Away that he did with John Wesley, I think was good as well. One of the very best, and Wilson really knows how to finish the albums off. For me, Up the Downstairs, I've put it at number 6. I'm looking at it and thinking, how could it be number 6? Well, I'll tell you why, because the next two that are coming up, for me, they're essentially, potentially, the two most similar albums in the discography. You guys who are also mega fans of the band, give me your thoughts and opinions. Running in at number 5 and number 4, I'm going to tell you together, these two. It's Stupid Dream and Lightbulb Sun. Now, I'm putting Lightbulb Sun ahead of Stupid Dream, and I'll tell you why in a few minutes. But Stupid Dream was released in 1999. It's after Signify, and it says here on Wikipedia that it shows the band going to a more mainstream style, if you want to call it that. I'm sure there've been idiots back in the day who said they were selling out and everything, but there's still so much integrity and quality here, and it's still an absolutely fantastic album. Great album cover as well. There's a few longer, more progressive tracks, a few bangers, some beautiful pieces, some darkness, some light, a bit of lyrics as well in these two albums, a bit of humour also, I'd say. But the thing that I get from this album, and even more Lightbulb Sun, of all 10 Porcupine Tree albums, I think they're very nostalgic, especially Lightbulb Sun. Holy shit, we will get onto that in a minute. But the track listing here, ladies and gentlemen, one of the very best songs the band ever did, Even Less. Some amazing lyrics. Piano lessons is really creepy. Pure Narcotic, a reference to Radiohead and the Bends there. Slave Called Shiver, bit of a banger. Baby Dreaming Cellophane, it just stops and starts again with this heavy riff. Stranger by the Minute, one of the most beautiful pop rock songs ever made. And then the album ends with A Smart Kid, the pretty crazy instrumental Tinto Brass, and Stop Swimming. Smart Kid and Stop Swimming have always reminded me of each other. And the track listing is a little bit strange though. It doesn't really bother me, but I can see some people being kind of irked by that. They're quite similar songs, and I like Stop Swimming, but there's something about it, lyrically and instrumentally, musically, that just seems a little off to me. I can't put my finger on it. I don't like I don't know if it's the lyrics or the pacing of the track. It's nice, but at the same time there's something that bothers me about it, something I can't quite articulate. But A Smart Kid, it gives me a feeling of an apocalypse, to be honest with you. But yeah, great album, great lyrics, still running in at 60 minutes in length, less spacey. The Pink Floyd influence has gone now overall, but there's still those Floydian guitars in there, but there's much more of a pop influence, yes indeed. But ladies and gentlemen, running in at number 4, it's Lightbulb Sun, and the album cover to this one, it shows a school kid on the front with a light bulb in his hand. The houses, the typical English houses, are behind him, and his face is covered, obscured by the clouds. Nostalgia? Whew. Through and through. It reminds me of me when I was younger. If you believe it, ladies and gentlemen, this now proud bald man used to have one hell of a head of hair, and my hair was very similar to this kid. And pardon me, some of the lyrics here are very poignant, very thought-provoking, very beautiful, and it just always makes me think of when I was a child. Lightbulb Sun opens the album up. How is your life today? 4 chords that made a million. She's moved on. Last chance to evacuate planet Earth before it's recycled. The restful floor. Hate song. Where we would be. Russia on ice. Feel so low. Phew, I've got to tell you, I mean, this is number 4 now of my personal rankings of the albums, but that, from the middle to the end, is an incredibly strong track listing. Which one are we putting in the drop down menu? We are putting in HATESONG, because this is a hate song just meant for you. Beautiful voice of an angel, that's me. But yeah, Wilson, I think sometimes his vocals are underappreciated. It's not just how good they are, but the way that he spaces the words out is so good as well. I'm going to talk about one track on In Absentia later where he does it in a really creepy way. Here he does it on HATESONG in kind of a creepy, weird way. But How Is Your Life Today, he does it again, where it's all about this person who's seemingly gone AWOL from the house, and it says something like, the junk mail and catalogues are built up and the neighbours have guessed because you've cancelled the milk and they don't hear your voice through the walls. So kind of, I don't know, maybe a bit of Beatles and 60s 70s pop in there. Really like it. And the restful floor is just so lovely. Some strings in there, very, very nostalgic for me. It's the N-word of this album. Where we would be, the church bells ringing at the start of the song. That's almost painful for me to listen to, that one. You know, it hits me so hard in the stomach. Russia on Ice, that outro kind of showcases where the band would go. It's a really heavy riff and it speaks of someone seemingly who is an alcoholic, and the Russia on Ice got to be vodka, and it just feels cold, that song, when you listen to it. It honestly does. But that outro riff is fantastic, very spacious as well, and then there's just a bit of drumming and not much else going on, but there's one hell of an atmosphere to listen to. And then Feel So Low, which is just quite simply about a relationship, comes a bit left field as a ender of the album, a not title track, but, you know, finishing the album off, where he's talking about an email that he's sending to someone and he's replying to it, and they're not sending Wilson anything back, and it made him feel so low. For me, this could easily be my top 3. I absolutely adore Lightbulb Son. I think it's an amazing album. And yeah. But next, ladies and gentlemen, number 3, we've now got the triple header of the darker albums. Obviously, The Incident was the last album from Porcupine Tree, but I do like to separate it from the classic trilogy. The first one I'm going to talk about is 2005's Dead Wing. This one was released in 2005, like I say, running in 59 minutes in length, and initially this was meant to be, or there was going to be a screenplay, a film, some kind of film written alongside this album. It never came to be, but it was apparently a ghost story, and you do get that feel listening to this album. Also, the guest appearances, I do believe, from Michael Ackerfeld, foabp, and Adrian Ballou, formerly of King Crimson. There's not a track on this album that I dislike, ladies and gentlemen, and I get the feeling, and I might be wrong here, I don't even know why I'm saying this, that Wilson is more keen on the stuff that he did in the early mid-era. I think he feels a little bit, I don't know what he feels, but kind of that he doesn't like the metallic edge to Porcupine Tree's music in the early, mid-late 2000s, because when you listen to a few interviews from him, and down the years I have done, he talks about his influences of pop music and progressive rock in the 70s, and even potentially earlier than that, and then throbbing gristle and drone and all that kind of stuff, and even soul and funk, pop, the kind of stuff he's doing now in his solo career. But where does the metal come from exactly? Where does that influence come from? I can only think perhaps from classic metal bands, but I don't really hear that in the sound. For me, I quite simply think it was Opeth in the 90s that Wilson was turned on to, and he loved that style of, you know, 1 second it's acoustic and then it's typical progressive rock, and then you've got someone screaming in your face with these death metal growl vocals, unbelievable solos, and, you know, classic Opeth from Still Alive and Blackwater Park. It's like listening to 4 songs in one on some of those longer tracks. Face and Melinda, songs like that, unbelievable. And yeah, I think definitely Wilson was inspired by that, especially with Dead Wing and Shallow, Lazarus, Halo, Arriving Somewhere But Not Here, Mellotron Scratch, Open Car, Start of Something Beautiful, Glass Arm Shattering. Gotta say, I really enjoy all those songs. And what I'm saying with Wilson, perhaps, and I might be wrong, Wilson not being as keen on this era of the band, I remember him criticising the song Shallow as just a typical kind of alt metal song, but that is the song that so many crappy nu metal bands had tried to make for so many years. Shallow is so good, that guitar tone is gnarly, Gavin Harrison on the drums, the man is an octopus as we know, the bass tone of Colin Edwin on this album too. I think this album and the two coming after it, I think it's the one where everything seems more concise and together as a band, and everyone is just so damn on point. The two longest tracks on the album, Deadwing and Arriving Somewhere But Not Here, for me, the two prog metal masterpieces, the solos and lyrics, and Arriving Somewhere But Not Here. That riff in the middle of the song is absolutely outrageous, so heavy, and the tone of it, and the build up and the progression to get to it, and the payoff, oh, it's just unbelievable. Like I said, Open Car was the first ever Porcupine Tree song I heard, and it was just so perfect. I needed, as an 18-year-old, getting into Tool, Dream Theater, classic Metallica, the grunge era. I was getting into electronic music so much, man. I tell you, from about 2007 to 2011, that 7, 8, 9, the 5 years between the ages of 17 and 22, I digested so much new music, and you know, when I found Porcupine Tree, I got into so much more. 9 Inch Nails later that year, so much stuff, and yeah, what an album. Start Something Beautiful is the one that I'm putting in the drop down menu because I think it's a bit of a grower, and I think it's one that I didn't like that much when I was younger. I learnt to love that song, now I definitely do, but you got Mellotron Scratch as well. That outro with all those overlaid vocals going off at the same time, you're listening to that in a good pair of headphones, and it is a sense that, you know, it's an absolute pummeling of the ears, ladies and gentlemen, that you will enjoy. But coming up, the second favourite, well, my second favourite Porcupine Tree album, ladies and gentlemen, it is Fear of a Blank Planet, released in 2007, running in at 51 minutes in length. And some people say that this album is overly cheesy because of Wilson's perspective, of his singing from a teenager's perspective most of the time. Some of the themes of the album are a bit cheesy, but I think this album makes more sense 14 years after it was released than it did back then, you know? Can we get a bit of the concept here? Let's have a read. Where the bloody hell is it? Here we go. Yeah, developmental disorders affecting teenagers in the 21st century. Bipolar disorder and attention deficit disorder. It also deals with other common behaviour tendencies of youth, like escapism through prescription drugs, social alienation caused by technology, a feeling of vacuity, product of information overload by the mass media. In an interview with Revolver magazine, Wilson described the main character of the story as this terminally bored kid, anywhere between 10 and 15, spends all his daylight hours in his bedroom with the curtains closed, playing on his PlayStation, listening to his iPod, texting his friends on his cell phone, looking at hardcore pornography, oh my, downloading music, films, news, violence. And I love the concept of this album. It is very much a strong concept album. What I mean by that is there's some concept albums, and the album that's coming after this is somewhat of a concept, but you can tell that perhaps with certain prog albums and different genres, yeah, it was a concept, but we've moved away from it a little bit, whereas this one, it is all in on the concept, and if you're digging it and you're into it, whew, it's unbelievable. And we've also got collaborations here from Mr. Alex Lifeson from Rush, and Robert Fripp does some soundscapes as well, especially on the EP to this album called Nil Recurring, 2 tracks called Nil Recurring itself and Cheating the Polygraph, some of the darkest, eeriest shit that the band ever put to tape. Absolutely love it. And I've got to say, you know, there's so many prog bands, and I'd love you guys in the drop down menu to potentially reference and tell me of new bands that have come around in the last 10 years or so, because the last 5 years or so particularly, I would say I've really not been able to get into that much new music. I listen to a lot of new bands like Hacken and Leprous. There's one called Vola that I really like, but I feel like songwriting and production and other areas, even musically, I just can't dig it fully. I hate to be disrespectful to these newer bands. I really enjoy the passion that they're putting in, but ultimately I just can't get into them. I don't think any of them have come close to stuff as good as Porcupine Tree. like I said, Vola, they released a song just today as I'm making this on the 11th of March called 24 Light Hours or some shit like that. Light Speed. It was amazing. I really enjoyed it. They are my favourites of modern prog bands. Then you got bands like Carnival, who for some reason just seem to not want to make music. It's been like 8 or 9 years since they last did one. But yeah, anyway, I digress. Anaesthetize, the 18-minute magnum opus. It's amazing. It's a journey, and it's in freeze. Anaesthetize, The Pills I'm Taking, and then Surfer. The Pills I'm Taking is outrageously heavy and aggressive. Surfer is the come down after it all. It's absolutely gorgeous, and Anaesthetize is lyrically the most poignant part of the song, I would say. And that is sandwiched in between two gorgeous pieces of music, My Ashes and Sentimental. My Ashes, this teenage character speaking of regret, but also how they never stood a chance due to the problems of the mother and father put onto them. And I tell you, I can understand those lyrics. Not myself, not my own experience, but people around me in the areas that I grew up in, you know, rundown areas where people never really stood a chance. Fear of Blank Planet opens up with these keyboard sounds and then this evil laugh through the computer screen. Amazing riff. About 5 minutes into it, it just stops, and there's one of the best head-banging sections you will ever hear. I absolutely love it. And then Way Out of Here, for me, Gavin Harrison, 5 minutes into Way Out of Here. You're a big Porcupine Tree fan, you know what I'm talking about. That riff that's so heavy, and then Harrison Fripp plays on this as well, ladies and gentlemen. And then the very eerie Sleep Together. I think this is Richard Barbaria's best performance. I think it's Gavin Harrison's best performance. Hell, it could be Mr. Colin Edwin on bass, his best performance. Lyrically, I love this album. I don't care about the cheese. I love the vibe. I love the darkness. It is beautiful. An absolutely amazing album. I've got the Fear of Blank Planet t-shirt, and I love it. Absolutely love it. My second favourite, but it was nearly number one. But the reason it's not number one, ladies and gentlemen, is because it's the album you damn well knew it was going to be before you clicked on this video. Well, potentially, but I would say that most people would say that this is the best album, Porcupine Tree, and it's, as fans, their favourite. But of course there'll be people out there who think it's overrated and not that good. I understand, it's a great discography. But for me, it's a colossal masterpiece. It's after Lightbulb Sun and before Deadwing. It's the first album on the Leather label. 68 minutes in length. It's the first metallic album, although I don't think Porcupine Tree were ever fully metal. But Mr. Michael Ackerfeld of Opeth sent a riff to Stephen Wilson for his birthday back in, I'm guessing 2001 maybe, not even 2002, as a gift. And that was the intro to Blackest Eyes. And the Opeth vibe on this album with some of these riffs definitely helps. It is a sinister riff. And then all of a sudden, after one of the heaviest riffs you've ever heard, you're hearing this middle-class, middle-age English guy sing these very light lyrics about walking through a woods and everything. It's like, wow, this is interesting. Blackest Eyes is probably one of the first tracks I ever heard from the band, and I was like, this is one of the best songs I've ever heard. But speaking of one of the best songs you've ever heard, Trains. We all know it. Perhaps there's some people who think it's overrated. I don't know, man. I think it's one of the best, most perfect songs ever made. The whole encompassing 6 minutes is incredible. Lips of Ashes, a very, very dark track lyrically, but he somehow makes it beautiful. And I say someone makes it beautiful because if you look at the lyrics of this one, surely this is about someone getting intimate with a corpse, ladies and gentlemen. That's all I'm going to say. The Sound of Music, which is an attack on modern music. And, you know, this album's nearly 20 years old. Well, modern music and music in the mainstream has only gotten worse since then. Gravity Eyelids, very, very heavy. I love the build-up with this one. It explodes and then it's the big come down again. 8 minutes in length. One of the best tracks on here. Wedding Nails, an instrumental, great guitar tone. Opeth again. And there's about a 2-minute segment of this song which is sort of ethereal and eerie. And I love it. It kind of reminds me of like Mass Prose perhaps from Signify. And then it just all kicks off again. Prodigal. This track reminds me of Led Zeppelin and Pink Floyd combined. The first half is Floyd, the second half is Zeppelin. It's absolutely fantastic. There's a reference to the TV show Friends on this one. And then Dot Free. I would love it if any of you guys could tell me if I'm wrong here, but there's just one lyric in this album. Sorry, in this particular track. It is essentially, apart from that, an instrumental. Lay your weapons, lay them down for your race. I don't think it means race, colour of skin, but race as in the race has been won. The war, maybe something going on here. It's called Dot Free. I find it very evocative of a barren wasteland after a war, some kind of nuclear shit gone down, and that's the vibe and the imagery that I get from that one. Then perhaps the left of field track on the album. I say left of field track on the album. It's dark, it's sinister lyrically, but I think it's the worst on here. The creator has a master tape, but I've grown to like it down the years because it's very, very fast-paced and heavy, but it's just peculiar. But the lyrics, man, I've got a smile on my face for all these lyrics. Wilson has always been very, very good with dark imagery and dark lyrics. It's one of the reasons why Dead Wing, Fear of Blank Planet and In Absentia are my three favourites from him. That being said, you see some of the shit in the early days from Small Fish and all this weird psychedelic stuff. Very trippy, dare I say. He's diverse with what he can do musically and lyrically, but for me personally, the dark shit has always been my favourite. But the last three songs on the album, Heart Attack and The Lay-By, where this guy's having regrets, and he's having regrets, but he doesn't think he's going to die, but he's actually having a heart attack without him realising it. And it is so, so gorgeous. And at this point, I don't know how much of this concept is one serial killer. I get the feeling it's multiple different serial killers and multiple different maniacs. And the ultimate, ladies and gentlemen, and when I did the video before the one you're seeing, which ended up being a bloody disaster because the lip syncing wasn't right, hopefully it is now, I looked in depth with the lyrics. That video lasted an hour and 3 minutes, I think. This one, let's have a look, is probably going to last about 45 minutes, not quite as long. But I looked more in depth at the lyrics. I didn't really do that with the Anathema one I did back in November. But I do love Wilson's lyrics. Also, B-side to this album, guys. Futile, Chloroform, both great songs. But there's one track called Drown With Me, which I don't know how it was missed off. I think it might be my favourite Porcupine Tree song of all time. Just putting out there. But listen to these lyrics for Dark Shit. This is one of the heaviest songs PT ever did, and it's got a really doomy feeling towards the end. This is my home. This is my own. We don't like no strangers. Raise the kids good, beat the kids good, and tie them up. The way he sings Tie Them Up, I spoke about his pacing before, and the way that he delivers lyrics. That lyric is so good. The goosebumps. Spread it wide, my wife, my life. Push the camera deeper. I can use, I abuse my muse. I made them all. What? What? That is some dark shit. They are not gone, they are not gone, they are only sleeping. In graves, in ways, in clay, underneath the floor. Building walls over roads, getting bored. I got faulty wiring. Brick it up now, but keep the bones. He's hiding the evidence of what he's done, ladies and gentlemen. This man has lost it, but he's created a family, and they are now in his world of madness. Mr. Wilson, how did he make a song so dark? And like I say, towards the end of this song, there's this weird conversation going on in the distance, and then this almighty doomy riff, which, oh my lord, it's heavy. And there's also a weird, this is so left of field, but there's a part of this song where it sounds like Rage Against the Machine, like a wow wow, wow wow. Where did now? I can't remember which Rage Against the Machine song that is, but there's, I think it's Bulls on Parade. Really, really reminds me of Rage Against the Machine. And then, finishing the album off, this guy's made some emotional pieces of music that will remain with me till the day I die. But Collapse the Light into Earth, ladies and gentlemen. Lyrically, musically, that piano, the repetition of the chorus with the Collapse the Light into Earth. It is absolutely sensational, and it is the ultimate goosebump inducer. It's the last song on the album. This guy knows what he's doing. It's not a coincidence that this is the last song of the album. It's amazing, and the contributor here on genius.com says, and I like this, but I agree with it, but I've got my own piece to say after. This is a slow piano ballad with lyrics that are simultaneously loose enough to keep the relationship between the speaker and the subject up for interpretation, and obvious enough to tell us that this is about trying to stay strong in the face of an inevitable personal loss. Yeah, I get it, but also I would say the collapse of light into earth is a coffin going down into the ground. The verses don't really make sense alongside that much, but it's just so damn good. Ladies and gentlemen, that has been my Porcupine Tree ranking from worst to best. Sorry if that's probably going to be loud on the microphone. That was me slapping my hand down on my knee. But yeah, I'm done. This has been running in at 40 minutes in length, around about the same amount of time as the Anathema one. Absolutely delighted with that. Please, if you disagree with my listing, in case, instead of giving it a thumbs down, tell me yours. There's going to be differing opinions. That's absolutely fine. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there, both old and young, who don't like the newer stuff like I do, but I still love the older stuff and the B-sides and all that. Amazing. Wilson, one of the best there's ever been in the genre and music, and if you've never listened to Porcupine Tree, you really should. As for the next music video, ladies and gentlemen, I've not got a vinyl pickups on the way, because I've not been picking up that many vinyls, because money is hard to come by. It's too tight to mention, as Mick Hucknall once said. That's a banger of a tune. But I don't want to do bands willy-nilly. You know, there's a lot of bands I love out there, but if I don't feel that I can speak about their discography properly, if I'm talking about an album and I don't really know it, I would feel bad giving it a ranking. But yeah, there'll be a music video soon. Thanks for watching, guys. See ya.